Hey y'all, it's Delaney and you're listening to Death by a Thousand Books podcast. Here's a 30-second preview of the song featured in today's episode.
Everything black and white, never let nobody see him cry. I don't let nobody see me wishing he wasn't mine. I could tell you his favorite color's green. He likes to argue. Born on the 17th, his sister's beautiful. He has his father's eyes. And if you ask me if I love him, I'd lie.
Welcome back to
Death by a Thousand Books podcast.
episode
7.
The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han.
Oh, it's so
That was
good.
kind of impressive.
That was kind of good. I thought you were gonna stop halfway through the title and let me finish it, but
Sorry. I
it's
just
fine.
genuinely couldn't remember the episode number, so I was just like,
It's fine. I understand.
It worked.
Anyway, welcome back to Death by a Thousand Books podcast. This is Sierra and
Delaney.
I feel like we've never actually said our names before.
I know, they're probably just wondering who's who,
Yeah.
voice-wise.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about that actually the other day. I was like, I wonder if, the people who see, my comments on the Instagram, because I comment on all the Instagrams, if they know
Realize
that
it's you.
I'm me and you're you, but...
You guys know now, so there you go.
So, episode breakdown for book 1, The Summer I Turned Pretty. This is going to be a 3-part episode launch, episodes 7, 8, and 9, all 3 books in the series of The Summer I Turned Pretty. It's not summer without you, and we'll always have summer. We decided that it was better to release all 3 of these at the same time for our bingers because we are pissed off about the announcement of 1 episode a week of season 2 of the Amazon Prime Video, but we're not going to get into that.
We're not even talking
We're
about
not
that
gonna-
because that's a whole other level of rage.
We're not going to talk about it. So, Delaney, kick us off with your rating out of 5 stars. Strictly book 1.
Think I'm going solid 4.
I'm at a solid 3.
Really?
Really. I think for book 1, I'm at a solid 3.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Because I've thought a lot about them in the last...
Obviously, talking about it, we'll get more into why that's our rating.
Absolutely. So, episode disclaimer part 2. If you haven't already watched the Amazon Prime series for The Summer I Turned Pretty, it did release last summer.
You're slacking.
If you haven't read the book, you're also slacking. But this episode in particular is going to be a little heavy on the TV series side because how can it not be? Exactly. We are going to talk about the books, but episodes 8 and 9 will be a little bit more book heavy as we do want to talk about the TV series because it is so good.
Oh,
So
there's
good.
so much to say. It's
I think it's almost to the point where, it was so well done. And Jenny Han, she did it with To All the Boys, and it was so good. And she just includes all of those little moments that you want.
She is a pro at turning her books into shows or
Yeah.
movies. When you're waiting for a book to be released as a movie or show, you're there's so many points that they miss and you get so upset. But hers, I could easily say that I might prefer the show to the first book.
I
I
think
could
same.
easily say that.
And we'll get into it because the show does have parts of it that aren't in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Is still so well done, and I love that. So, right off the bat, I'm going to ask you, strictly book 1, are you Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah? Insert spoilers here.
I feel like it's so hard because it's such a difficult time to judge Conrad.
Yeah.
Because when you get the flashbacks in this book, he is just such a
lover.
precious
I say that all the
human.
time.
That's the perfect way to describe him. He's just a little lover boy. But then also so is Jeremiah. They're both just such loving, warm characters. And then this period of time that is covered in the book, it's so hard to see that side of Conrad. But I still can't help but be Team Conrad because it's Conrad.
I think, agreed. I think we have to address the fact that Susanna has cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And in book 1, Conrad knows and Jer doesn't. And Jer is still that golden retriever boy personality that we love and fall for.
Mm-hmm.
And Conrad gets the reputation of this brooding bad boy. But again, in the flashbacks, he's not the brooding bad
At
boy.
all.
He's the same kind of personality type as Jeremiah. And I think that's what I clung to, and that's why I'm Team Conrad.
Yeah.
because
like, you know, he's in there, but he's also like holding all these emotions by himself because it's summer. He's not going to go around like spreading this information to not only his brother, but to Belly and Steven.
The emphasis on in the summer I turned pretty, when they're in the now, that is not the Conrad that he always has been. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important.
I feel like a point I want to make is that in the books, I am so much more Team Jeremiah than I am with him in the show.
Agreed.
In the
I can see that.
Like, you know how I feel about him. I know he's like grown on me in the 4 times I've rewatched it. But when I first saw the show, there was just something. First of all, he wasn't how I pictured at all. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously there was like the curly brown hair, and like he's like still kind of dreamy looking. But I don't know, it was just not.
He's cheesy.
On par. Yes,
he's really like
cringy
at cringy points.
And I know they're teenagers, which is like the mindset you have to have reading and watching. Like they're gonna act like that,
right?
But like, and he's still lovable in the show. But in the books, he's just so much more of a likable character to me.
I think that's because Conrad was cast in the show so well. Mm-hmm. I am a 25-year-old girl, and I swoon over Conrad. Like, I love him.
We talk about it often. The freaking teaser that they sent out before the show came out with Lover playing in the background where he sees Belly for the first time, and that is just, the series as a whole is just that little scene of him seeing her.
This is a Taylor Swift book podcast. We couldn't not talk about the Lover scene. Cruel Summer playing in the background of Belly and Taylor packing for Cousin's Beach. We have, obviously, The Way I Loved You, which we need to save and talk about a little bit more in depth in a moment.
What's the one?
False God.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. That's
an underrated gem. Mm-hmm. Like, Jenny Han, that's what I mean. Like, she just did so good. And I feel like we can transition from Team Conrad and Team Jeremiah to give you your moment to talk about Cam Cameron.
Thank you.
Because for anybody listening, Delaney is lying. She's actually Team Cam Cameron. Before and after the show came out.
I think I just have this mindset where if the boys just didn't exist, and I know Cam is added in as like a hill to climb over, kind of like as an issue. But like if they weren't there, they would be such a good match. Like he's just such a cute fucking character, and it like hurts me that he didn't get his like time in the books. But I'm so happy in the show that he obviously is going to have more of a
I feel differently
role.
Because I feel like Cam Cameron had more of a spot in the books. Like, you got more of a glimpse at his dates with Belly and how she felt about him, and she really did love him, and I think the importance of him as a character was, like, not calling it a love square, but, like, he was the only romantic aspect that took her away from Conrad and Jeremiah. Yeah. For her to experience love and having a boyfriend in a different way that wasn't swooning over this boy you've swooned for your entire life. Mm-hmm. But then she realized that that wasn't it, and she would never feel anything outside of that. Right. So he was important, and I did love him, but I love Conrad more.
Like, I mean, I can almost get it, because I feel like he's almost, like, you always say you hate how awkward he is. And, like, that's the thing, is, like, he's kind of also a cringy character with, like, I don't drink, I don't...
Yeah.
I mean, not that you want someone to do drugs. He doesn't do drugs. He's vegan. Like, he's just very much, like, a...
Yeah.
cheesy character. But, like, I don't know. I just think he's so precious. And I just...
That was weird.
I must say that too much about him. But I just think he's so cute, and I'm glad that he's obviously going to have a reoccurring role in the show.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see, like, what they do with him and who he's going to be involved with when he's not with her. But I feel like they did him very good justice in the show, besides the fact that he wasn't as tall as he was in the books.
That really does something for me, not gonna lie.
You know, I mean, we both love a tall guy, and it says specifically in the books he's taller than both Conrad and Jeremiah, and they're already tall, so I'm sitting there like, oh my god.
Yeah. I wish I could have fell for him in the way that you did, but I will forever and always be Team Conrad.
Too.
PG episode. This is a YA novel.
I'm gonna try. We've done okay so far.
So I want to touch very quickly on Belly. and emphasize again what
needs her moment.
You brought up already. We have to remember that this is a YA novel, and Belly is like 15 years old.
Yes. I feel like that's easily forgotten. Yes. It seems by a lot of people who have reviewed this book and
they're just like, Belly seems so childish and immature, and she is. That's the point.
And I feel like that's what makes it fun. Is you're being literally transported back to. Everyone's had the same thoughts as her. Everyone thinks about guys the way that she does. Like, you're just 15. You are not developed in any fucking way in regards to like how you feel about a person. Like, she is just constantly whining, thinking about herself. Not
She's
thinking
a
about
kid.
how her
But at the end of the day, so are Conrad and Jeremiah. So I don't want to forget that either.
Right. Even though they're slightly older, or at least Conrad is, they're still freaking babies. Like when I think about how I acted at 18, it's the same freaking way that they do in the books.
Exactly.
Which is what makes it fun. But I feel like if you're reading this as like a 35-year-old, maybe you just can't get into that mindset anymore. I don't know if that's the case.
Which is where I think the show succeeds. And again, shout out to Jenny Han, because there's no chance that she didn't do this on purpose. How do you feel about the addition of the Deb Ball? And the whole concept of Belly becoming a woman and growing up.
Adding that, like, mature factor into it. I think we were both, and I feel like everyone was pleasantly surprised by that addition because...
aggressively surprised?
When I originally saw, I was, like, extremely upset about it because I was like, okay, you're already straying away from, like, the context of these books, but then both of us have realized reading back on them, there is no plot line, especially in the first book.
In book one, it is heavy romance.
Yes, it's literally just
very
feelings,
light plot.
It's flashbacks.
There's like nothing going on.
Building up to book 2 and 3, but book 1 is genuinely basically about nothing. So I feel like if they didn't add that in, and they didn't add in the other like side plot lines of like Conrad and the author guy, like I don't remember his name, but
what is his name?
I can't freaking remember.
I can't remember.
But I really liked that addition. I liked more of the scenes with like both of their moms together. Like I feel like that added.
It built a lot more because you had different things going on at once. You didn't just have Belly and Conrad.
It wasn't just constant. Jeremiah, Conrad. Like who am I?
And we've rewatched it like 6 times together at this point.
Constantly.
We're like, "What are you doing tonight? Want to watch Summer I Turned Pretty?"
Check on an episode, and that's the thing as well.
There's no bad episode.
No, you don't have to watch it in order. You can go back and forth. You can pick your favorite parts to rewatch and rewatch and rewatch, and it's just never going to disappoint you. Like it just gets better at this point.
And we get like the Junior Mint cameo for the people who have read the books. When Conrad boops Junior Mint, the polar bear, on the nose, like
in a super happy mood, and
that was such a significant part of the books that like I remembered.
Those super teeny tiny details,
right?
Like,
and the necklace,
that she remembers.
All huge parts.
Ugh.
And I think the last thing that I want to touch on from season 1 of the show versus book 1 of the books is book 1 doesn't really have much Belly Jer content in it. Like, it's non-existent at all. Book 2 is even non-existent until the end. So I'm kind of interested that she brought in that love triangle so early, which we'll dive into in the next episode, obviously. But
I mean, that's the thing for me with the show is even then, like, I just don't see... I mean, I know that she brought their connection in earlier, but I just don't see that, like, vibe between them. And the fact that they, like... somewhat got together in the show was just kind of weird to me because it felt so forced and random.
Well, that's how it feels in the book, too.
Right.
It's just later on.
Any interaction between them is not ever romantic. It's like, oh, you're just best friends. How could you ever feel that way about each other?
I could have lived through season 1 without Jer being thrown into the mix.
Right. Like, at all.
Like, she could have very easily gone to the ball with Cameron and Conrad stepped in and saved the day somehow. Like, Jared didn't have to be thrown into the mix.
Right.
Which is maybe my only complaint, but I think the show for me is so well done that I actually do prefer it over the book.
There is, like, one specific thing, and it's such a tiny thing that's always bothered me, and it hasn't always bothered me, but it's just, like, this tiny little detail that I wish would be added into the show, is boardwalk scenes. Because when you go to the
Oh.
beach, you go to the boardwalk.
Or more flashbacks. Like, the only
Yes,
really
yes,
vivid
yes, yes.
flashback that we got was the swing dancing,
Mhm.
which
That's the only one I can
touched my
specifically-
heart. But, like, I would have liked the scene where she won Junior Mint.
Yes. Like,
And he
I don't
gave it
know,
to
just
her.
little...
Yeah, I
like,
agree with
more-
that.
Like, I love a boardwalk vibe, and I feel like... I mean, they might potentially add it in. I just feel like that's such a beach thing, and it would have just, like, added more of a beachy vibe.
True.
That would just have been, like, a fun addition. But obviously, without it, it's completely fine and perfect as it is. But
So
I just love the boardwalk, that's all.
It's so good. Well, Delaney, I feel like you can at least agree, not being a total Swiftie, that this book is very debut.
Oh, yeah.
It is very, like...
There's no other option for it because it's so not... It's not even, like, a romance book. It's not... I don't know how to describe it. But
It's just...
not.
They're children, and when Taylor Swift released Debut, she was also
was
a
a
child.
little
She was
baby,
16 years old, and it is so old. But for the original fans, Debut is, like, something that we hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for Jenny Han fans, The Summer I Turned Pretty is also something that you hold on to because it was huge before To All the Boys, and it was huge before the TV show, and now it's huge because of those things.
Right.
That the books are finally having their moment.
Right.
Like when Taylor releases Debut, Taylor's version, it's over. Like, to hear a 30-year-old sing the same songs that she wrote and recorded at 16 is just insane.
And the difference of how she's going to sound is going to be
I know.
wild.
But it's just crazy to me that she sounds so different, but she sounds the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. I love I love everything about her re-recording her albums. It's
like the tiny little differences
amazing.
And the note changes. It's just going to be like...
that you don't pick up on, that I constantly am like, here, listen to this 10-second clip from both songs. With that being said, obviously the song from today's episode is from the debut album, Taylor Swift. It is an unreleased song that Delaney already knows and has actually listened to me rant about. And I'm going to tell you the songs for all three books and kind of preface my thoughts on this. So obviously I picked Debut for book 1. Book 2 is Coney Island from Evermore.
Okay.
And then book 3 ties it up with This Love, Taylor's version, which was also featured in season 1 of the show. So I feel like those 3 songs in a lineup anyway explain themselves because Coney Island is one of my favorite songs of all time that everybody looks over. I love it. It's so lyrically, it is so good. It's so beautiful. I'll talk about it in the next episode.
Very intrigued to see how it
And This Love, I love that it was in season 1, but I feel like This Love really ties up the 3rd book better than it would tie up this book.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
Today we are going to listen to I'd Lie by Taylor Swift, a very 15-year-old song. So I'll just go right into our lyrics. You heard the 30-second preview before. I'm gonna start doing 3 lyrics from every song.
Okay.
So
I don't think it ever crossed his mind. He tells a joke, I fake a smile, but I know all his favorite songs.
And that is in the opening verse of the song. I just think it's adorable that Belly is in love with Conrad and everybody knows it except for her.
That's the thing, even Conrad knows. Like, everybody that spends time with the both of them knows.
Right? And then it goes on in the chorus to say,
I could tell you his favorite color's green. He loves to argue, born on the 17th. His sister's beautiful. He has his father's eyes.
She's just listing off all of these things that she knows about him. And she does. She knows Conrad better than anyone. Even if you've read the whole series, you know that Conrad feels the same way about Belly, too.
Right.
Like, he has always been kind of her comfort. And then she says, if you ask me if I love him, I'd lie.
If you ask me if I love him, I'd lie.
I feel like that line alone perfectly wraps up the first book.
It's just
because this
adorable.
girl denies to the end of the earth that she feels that way about him. When, like you said, literally everybody knows that she is in love with him.
is why I wanted to put all 3 songs together so you know what I'm going to talk about next, because it shows that, like, in book 1, Belly was very much hesitant about her feelings for Conrad, and she grows up and finally is able to admit them, which is a huge step for her.
Yeah.
Like, the fear of rejection is always going to be there.
Right.
Okay. So, I played you the bridge once. And I'm going to play it again, obviously, here. So, the next thing I want to talk about is the bridge. We literally can't get through an episode without talking about a Taylor Swift bridge, so here you go.
He stands there, then walks away. My God, if I could only say I'm holding every breath for you. He'd never tell you, but he can play guitar. I think he can see through everything but my heart. First thought when I wake up is, my God, he's beautiful. So I put on my makeup and pray for a miracle. Yes, I could tell.
He stands there, then walks away. My God, if I could only say I'm holding every breath for you.
I just feel like we've said it before, like Belly, it feels like if she were to write songs, she would
literally writing in her journal. We said that before, that The Summer I Turned Pretty feels like Belly is just like writing in her journal. Journal. No, I said that. And I feel like I'd Lie by Taylor Swift feels like Taylor Swift is just like writing down all of her feelings about this guy. And then we have the revised chorus where she says, he'd never tell you, but he can play guitar. Conrad is very often talked about, like, the guitar in his room, like, picking at strings. Love that. I think he can see through everything but my heart. And then my absolute favorite part is, first thought when I wake up is, my God, he's beautiful. So I put on my makeup and pray for a miracle. Isn't that just so pure? And just like, it encompasses Belly entirely, because she's like,
he's her every single thought.
He is the reason why she wakes up in the morning and brushes her hair and
tries to look
puts on her makeup and puts on perfume, like things that Belly never does outside of the cousin's house, or has never done up until this point in her life, now that she's becoming older.
Right.
And I feel like it's just cute, because I don't think Conrad needs those elements to see the real Belly, because he knows who she is. But at the same time, it's showing her in like a more grown-up perspective. And it's so cute. It's so cute.
Really freaking cute. That's like another perfect line, which just encompasses how good you are at picking songs that have, like,
thank you. Give me my shout out.
So freaking well.
I love picking songs, and I posted this on Instagram as a surprise song to see what people would say, and no one said I'd Lie. Which it was kind of a trick question, because I'd Lie is an unreleased song.
Which surprises me, because I know this song. And I don't understand
and it's gonna be on Taylor's version. I mean, I'm hoping. I don't know if it actually is, but I'm hoping.
Surely it would be. Who knows?
I don't know.
We'll find out eventually.
But I feel like that is a perfect song and perfect conversation to wrap up book 1. Because
Not much to say, but still enough to have
I need to wrap up book 1 to further talk about book 2. And we're trying really hard to break them up by book, even though we know that you're going to listen to all 3 episodes at the same time, we hope. Thank you for listening to episode 7 of Death by 1,000 Books podcast. The Summer I Turned Pretty. Episode 8 and 9 are also out now. So keep your headphones in. Keep driving. Keep listening.
It's only going to get better. Episode 2 and 3 have so much more discussion, detail, book content discussion.
Absolutely. I think you have to listen to all 3 books at the same time.
Especially if you've read them and watched the show. It'll all just be a nice little
all
gift
gonna
to you
tie
guys.
together. And I already said episode 8, It's Not Summer Without You, is going to feature Coney Island from the Evermore era of Taylor Swift, featuring the Nationals. It's gonna be a good one. So
be there.
We'll see you in about 30 seconds. Bye.
Yes, I could tell